The month of July has come to a close. It is now a new month, so I'm going to rank all 5 July new releases I saw from the worst to the best. Hi, my name is Nathan, and I talk about a bunch of movies and TV shows on this channel. If you're new here, down below in the comment section, share your ranking of the July new releases that you saw. Over on my channel, I have more content like this. Check those out. Once this video is over, click that like button, be sure to subscribe because it really does help. And with that said, let's just get started with the ranking. Easily in last place, Insidious the Red Door. This was just a disappointing installment in the Insidious franchise for me. Now, keep in mind, I am a newer person to the Insidious franchise. I watched the first film for the first time 6 months ago, and so I'm a newer person to this franchise, but this film I thought was just kind of a dud. So, it's fun to see the Lamberts return, but beyond that, there's just not much here to enjoy. Simply put, this movie plays out like a mystery where the audience already knows the answers, therefore it's just telling us a bunch of stuff we already know and retreading all the same old things, and that doesn't make for a compelling story, in which case most of the runtime of the movie is just running around in circles, looping around, doing the same jump scare after jump scare, scary sequence after scary sequence, and that's not how I like a story to be told. In which case, it doesn't really get going until 70% of the way through the film. And in a franchise where there's demons and astral projection, that's not really explored all that much in this film. And so, overall, just one of the most disappointing movies in the year. And even when it came out just 3 weeks ago, it hasn't aged well with me, and I've only liked it less since I watched it. Number 4, Haunted Mansion. To be clear, there's a pretty big jump from Insidious the Red Door to Haunted Mansion. And this is a movie that I enjoy quite a bit, simply because what elevates it is the charming set of characters and cast, as well as the humor in the movie. They just bring such energy to their roles. Of course, you got Owen Wilson, Danny DeVito in there, and you got all these just great actors who could just play these very charming characters that you want to spend more time with. And what I liked about it was that it's a Disney spooky horror type movie that manages to be accessible to broad audiences. And there's some fun sequences if you like the Disney attraction, which I have been on several times that I've went to Disneyland. Now, it's not trying to be anything more or anything less. It's just fun family entertainment. But I really think that this movie, depending on how much you like it, is more tied to how much you like the Disneyland attraction. And as somebody that likes it, I think I like it a bit more than some other people. I'm not saying it's great or anything. It's just good enough. And I think another problem with this movie is that like the characters aren't very compelling, as it tries to have this heart and emotion. But I just didn't care about some of the characters, even though they have such energy. But overall, a fun time at the movies. Next up is Sound of Freedom, a movie that is the story about a man named Tim Ballard who works to stop child trafficking, and because of the subject matter that it tackles, it manages to be very emotional at moments in time. And because of that, it's an effectively horrifying film, having this bleak atmosphere and everything like that. And that's what I just really thought worked about this movie, was that it didn't try to fantasize the aspects of really bad actions that people make, and it makes the point, this exists and we should work against it. And I think because of that, it's very effective. Because of the things they show in this movie, it's horrifying. You're disgusted by what you're seeing on screen, and you feel so much of the stakes, but because you feel that danger inside, when there's moments of victory, it really can have big moments of this victory. Now, this is not a movie that was easy to watch. It's not a very rewatchable film. I'm not going to be rewatching this movie anytime soon. But it is worth checking out, and it's a very, very intense drama thriller that I enjoyed and thought it did its job really well. All runner-up, Oppenheimer. As a point of reference, I did not go to the Barbenheimer double feature because my family wasn't a big fan of watching a Barbie movie inside of the theater. I'm sure I'll watch it whenever it comes out on Max or something. But I was able to see Oppenheimer, and Christopher Nolan is just one of my favorite directors of all time. And I would say with this film, he made another great movie that this time being a fascinating story about the making of the nuclear bomb, but it also manages to be a compelling story about the character of Oppenheimer, and it has all the complexity, the depth that you expect and you want from Nolan film, and I think that works very well with this particular story. Oppenheimer himself is not a character that's written to be this charming, likable guy, but you're rooting for him and his team as well. And I think that because of the story it tackles about racing to make this piece of technology, this bomb, when you have moments of victory, when they test the nuclear bomb in this movie, there's a sense of victory while also being terrifying, and it's just very effective at doing that, where you feel two different emotions while watching certain things play out in this film. Also, it has a very realistic depiction of explosions on how you see the light before you hear the sound. A bunch of stuff about this movie just really worked. It contains all the tension you want from a movie like this without having to rely on big CGI explosions like superhero movies do. It's tense in a very different manner, and it's very interesting from beginning to end. So this is a movie that has amazing performances from an amazing cast, and I just really enjoyed this movie. Once again, just another great Christopher Nolan film. But easily coming in first place, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning Part 1. This is a movie that after I left the theater watching it, I couldn't believe how good it actually was, because it is currently the best of the Mission Impossible franchise, and it absolutely lived up to all the hype leading up to it. Right off the bat, it has the most memorable story of all the Mission Impossible movies about the AI, and it's also the most massive scale of all the Mission Impossible movies, while also being a more personal Mission Impossible movie for its stakes. The plot ties into Ethan's past, and of course, you just get a bunch of memorable action sequences and stunts, even though there's really only 5 action sequences in this movie. But the movie just moves at such a nice pace that it's so entertaining from beginning to end. Every single character stands out. Whether you're talking about our returning characters, the team with Ethan and Benji and Luther and Ilsa, but you also add in Grace, played by Haley Atwell, who has such great dynamics with all the other characters, like especially Ethan, and she just brings such energy into this movie, or into this franchise. It solidified to me that Tom Cruise could just outdo himself. But beyond that, you actually feel the urgency and the danger of the stakes in this movie. With most of the other Mission Impossible movies, you enjoy them, but you don't really remember much of the plot, or the danger, or the villain, or anything like that. And this movie, you actually remember all the scenes, sequences, and it leads to some very emotional moments because of all of this. And this movie is 2 hours and 43 minutes long. It does not feel like a nearly 3-hour movie. It just flies by, and it manages to be very watchable, very rewatchable movie that's nearly 3 hours. And despite this movie being a part one, despite it ending on a cliffhanger, it completes a story. Like, it's a satisfying conclusion. I would much prefer the cliffhangers to be ended like this, rather than the way they do it in, like, Fast X and Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. To me, this might be the best movie of the century right now, and it might be one of my top 3 favorite action movies of all time. So it is easily in first place. There you have it. That's my ranking of all 5 July new releases that I saw. Down below in the comment section, share your ranking over on my channel. I have more content like this. Check those out right now and be sure to subscribe. Thank you guys so much for sticking around to the end, and I will see you in the next one.